accomplishment for President Obama if he's able to get this past the finish line. But again, administration officials not necessarily going in confident in this latest round of talks. Suzanne.
All right, Sondland, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I want to bring in our CNN political commentator, Van Jones. Van, it's good to see you. And I have to tell you, first of all, this morning, my parents and I have been talking about this all morning, the amazing grace moment that really who is spiritual and who is taking risks and who also had just an incredible week in terms of his signature social change issues that he wanted to accomplish by the end of his 2 terms. To me, it seems like there's a legacy here.
Absolutely. I mean, this is why he ran for president. I put out a tweet that said, the Confederate flag seems to be on its way coming down. You have marriage equality. You have health care. You have the president speaking powerfully to questions of race. This is what I voted for in 2008. It seems like in 1 week, it just all came to pass. I also think you're seeing a different kind of Obama. This is Obama 3.0. He tried to speak about race on the campaign trail in his biography. And then when he first came into the White House, and he got hammered so badly that he really kind of spent a couple of years almost as a racial piñata, just not saying anything. Black folks mad at him for not saying on this issue. And as he says, he's fearless. I have never seen a president, period, including this president, speak so powerfully that the church organist jumped in to accompany a speech. That never happens. He was the minister-in-chief yesterday, the minister-in-chief.
Yeah, I think we certainly saw that. And Van, you and I have talked many times about really his evolution when it comes to talking about race. I want to bring Sondland back into the conversation here because what was really interesting and perhaps even ironic, right, is that you saw Republican lawmakers working side by side with the president to help get that trade deal passed. So in a way, it really was kind of the ability to work with the Republicans that he was able to defy his own party, people who did not want that to push through, to accomplish something. Do we think that we're going to see more of that?
Well, right. You're very right that was a rare time when the White House and Republicans teamed up on a major issue. It was the Democrats that were divided over trade. So certainly an unusual situation. But to your question, I don't think it's likely. I don't think that the White House believes that this is a big indication that they're going to be able to work with Republicans in the future on major issues. And we saw President Obama make note of that when he's talking about in the wake of Charleston, the push for gun control, really giving a nod to the political realities of the moment, saying that he just doesn't see an avenue for this moving forward because of the Republican-controlled Congress of both the House and the Senate under Republican control. So him kind of admitting that he needs to move public opinion, not move any legislation through Congress.
And Van, this really was a unique week that we saw because it's so rare that you have Supreme Court decisions, you have legislation, you have so much that's going in your favor. I know the president, he lit up the White House with the rainbow colors yesterday. I mean, it really was kind of an extraordinary week for him. How do you think this is going to be remembered?
Listen, I think you just saw probably the best week for the Obama presidency. If you were doing a movie about Obama, this would be the end of the third act. The president finally triumphant across the board. The White House lit up in the way that it was. And there is also just one area where there may be another bipartisan miracle, which is criminal justice reform. Sensenbrenner, a right-wing Republican, Bobby Scott, a left-wing Democrat, put forward comprehensive legislation last week. I mean, in the middle of all this, that the president could probably sign and that Republicans would probably like. So there may be one more miracle, but even if there's not, this is going to be the week. And the president singing that song is going to be one of the defining moments of the entire Obama presidency. That will be seen over and over again when they look back on this man's incredible journey.
And I think a lot of people are going to look back at this week and try to digest and analyze and figure out how it all came together. And Sondland, tell us what the president is doing in the weeks ahead. I mean, what do we see in terms of, is this a pivot moment?
It could be. I think there's a realization among the White House officials here and probably the president himself at what stage he is in his presidency. And I think that's a lot of the reason why we're seeing him be a little more liberated, not to be so politically calculating, not so deliberate with each and every word. And we really saw President Obama mention that specifically in the podcast interview he did this week. He talked about how he is fearless, and he seemed to say that was a refreshing feeling willing for him to have. So I don't believe that this is a major pivot, but I think we'll still see this sort of president at this stage in his presidency until he leaves the White House. Suzanne?
And that podcast was called WTF too. So